Welcome, everybody. I'm Anthony Tamburi. I'm Dean of the John D. Calandra Italian American Institute, and we're happy to be back live to some degree. We're happy also, we're delighted to host the Comeback Conference, hybrid as it is for the Italian American Studies Association. It's, I think, important. I think many of us feel it's important we get back together. We can, over not just the presentations, the formal presentations, but that we get back to chatting over coffee and where a lot of the greatest ideas happen, sort of spring forth. And so I'm just delighted. Today is Veterans Day. You know, we live in a country where we do not get off to vote. We do not get off for Veterans Day, but we get all sorts of other debatable holidays off, especially here in New York City. But let us just, you know, remember what today is and remember up until the latest incursion, whatever you want to call it, incursion, whatever, that was Afghanistan. So to all those who are still with us and no longer, we thank them for their service. I want to thank the Italian American Studies Association for being here, for allowing us, the Calandra Institute, to be part of this opening. I want to thank especially the officers, the president, Alan Gravano. We have an incoming president. I'll let Alan announce who the incoming president is, but thanks to that person as well. And also I need to thank all the officers, but especially Donna Kiriko, who's, I'm her co-chair for this conference. Calandra Institute staff is always helpful to various degrees. There are those whose job just makes it that they work even more for events of this sort. Carmen Pizzirusso is one of the people who's always involved, as well as Rosario Musco and others at various points in the organization of the conference. I just want to say a couple of words about Italian American Studies. It has, I began, I always sort of kiddingly use the, I referenced the scene in Godfather 3 when Michael Corleone in the kitchen says, just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. It's sort of what happens, or at least what happened years ago in Italian American Studies. It seems that if you even broached the area and you were Italian American, they pulled you in. Such was the case with me back in 1987. So I've been involved since '87 in Italian American Studies. And I must say that it has, especially in the field of the arts, literature, cinema, it has grown amazingly with regard to creative writing, with regard to the publication, especially of creative writers, and with regard to the work that has been done in literary criticism, cinema, film criticism, and also some of the social sciences such as history. The books have just, the publication of those books has just exploded, and all the better for us. There are a number of universities now that do have Italian American Studies courses, for the most part on the undergraduate level. There's still a challenge to get them on the graduate level. And there's still a challenge to get some sort of formalization of Italian American Studies at the graduate level. As far as I know, there are only two places. One is NYU, which has Vito Assegno, that professorship that comes every other year, and that person offers a graduate and undergraduate course, so that students in Italian studies and in other graduate courses can take at least one, depending on how long they're there, and the overlapping at least one, if not two courses, and that's wonderful. The other place where Italian American Studies is offered on a regular basis at the graduate level is at Queens College. After the hiring of Dr. Fred Gardefei, who is the distinguished professor at Queens College, we developed 4 courses, and those courses are alternatively taught over the years. The last thing I want to say, and this is really, you know, a call to arms, if you will, that there just needs to be a better relationship between Italian American Studies and Italian Studies. It just isn't there. I know that some of my colleagues are not colleagues in general, perhaps here at CUNY and perhaps those elsewhere, or the AATI or the AIS, they are probably not happy to hear such things. But it is true. There is what we call writing, in Italian outside of Italy. There's also just writing about things Italian, and we seem to have broken down all sorts of borders for the good, but yet that border between Italian American studies and Italian studies still exists. And so perhaps one day in the not too distant future, in the next 6 to 12 months, we can have a conversation, a more formal conversation about that here at the Calandra Institute. With that, I think I've given a little bit of thought to chew, some cud to chew, and I'm delighted to give the microphone over to the current but outgoing president of the Italian American Studies Association, Alan Gravano.
Thank you, Anthony. So welcome and good afternoon. It's exciting to be back somewhat in person at the Calandra Institute this morning. If we learned anything from COVID, it's the ability to be flexible as well as a plethora of technological systems and new methods, Zoom being one, even our program being online and some of the difficulties some of our members were having. Although this conference was originally slated as virtual, it is great to have it hybrid. The conference committee was able to build a successful event in a rather short period of time. I would like to thank the conference committee co-chaired by Donna Chirico and Anthony Tambori, the members, Rebecca Bauman, Marcella Benchaveni, Courtney Ruffner, and Anthony Mitzel. I would especially like to thank Dean Tambori for hosting the in-person part of the annual conference at the Calandra Institute. I would like to extend my thanks to the staff too, especially Carmine this morning, getting everything set up along with Courtney for the Zoom aspect of this event. This hybrid event marks the first conference since Houston in 2019. During the intervening 2 years, IASA has hosted 22 webinars for our members. We have made, in fact, because of the pandemic, we decided to have these events open to the public. We have had many memorable ones, such as Jonathan Caballero's presentation on the Sopranos, to celebrations of poets we lost, Lawrence Ferlinghetti and Diane DePrima. For all who contributed and attended those events, I thank you. Please keep attending. They become not only a lovely scholarly addition to our association, but also something that has attracted a bevy of new and returning members. Speaking of membership, even though this is a little bit of a precursor to Sunday, we went from 148 members at the beginning of 2021, and we are now at 210 members. And I think this is the first time in all of my years on the EC that we've been above 200. The confluence of several events led to this year's theme, such as the continued killing of unarmed Black people, Black Lives Matter, and Me Too. Because of so many high-profile shootings, Colleen Ryan motioned at an EC meeting to create an ad hoc committee on diversity, inclusion, anti-bias, and anti-racism. The Calandra Institute's 2019 symposium, Diversity in Italian Studies, directly influenced the first half of this year's conference theme, Diversity in Italian American Studies, the status of race, gender, and sexual orientation in uncertain times. We have a rich program to offer you this year. I strongly encourage you to consider submitting your completed paper to Diasporic Italy, Journal of the Italian American Studies Association, our new publication, which will celebrate its inaugural volume very soon. We're hoping by the end of the year to actually have the print and/or digital copy for everyone who is a member. Those of you joining via Zoom, I should not have to remind you, but proper Zoom etiquette is appreciated. When we have sessions like this, which is, it's important to participate in the discussion, whether unmuting at the end of the presentation or utilizing the chat feature or Q&A. We want the conference to be as interactive as possible. And again, thank you and enjoy. Oh, I have one quick announcement, which is the one thing is we have the various links. So right now, this was the link for the introductory remarks by Professor Tambori and myself, but you're going to have to sort of leave this and then rejoin for the next session, which is a Zoom session. So a little bit of technological maneuvering, but thank you all for being here for these first opening remarks.